I'm Jen. And this is my mom. This is my mom as homecoming queen. My mom is great. She's smart, she's creative, she's funny. She grew up in Louisiana in the 1950s. And my mom's dream was to be Miss America. Now, I don't know how much you all know about how the Miss America pageant feeder system worked in Louisiana back then, but she had qualified for the Miss Louisiana pageant both as Miss Beauregard Parish and through the Louisiana Gulf Coast Oil Exposition pageant. But then she married my dad, and she dropped out. Lucky for me. Okay. My mom believed that Miss America was the most impressive and ambitious thing that she could be. So this is me. At the same ages when my mom wanted to be Miss America, I wanted to be a US Senator from Kansas. It's not actually quite as random as it sounds. I did actually live in Kansas. Right? There's 30 years between my mom and me, but there is immeasurable difference in the opportunities we had and in what we believed was possible in our life. And those differences reflect huge changes in our society, right? How work gets done, how kids are raised, how marriages work, how we live. It was a huge culture change. And this change, like any big social change, was the product of lots and lots of individuals who decide that they're going to believe and act as if something different is possible. In the women's movement, we had literal consciousness raising circles, right? But change is always about consciousness raising. It's helping people believe and then act differently. The way our media and our politics work, it's easy to fall into thinking that social change is policy change, right? But it's much deeper than that. So I'm from Kansas, remember. In a 15-year period, we had 6 different sets of science standards. We went back and forth on whether we learned evolution, right? Policy change is super important, but it's not the end. My favorite example to illustrate this is the temperance movement, right? The movement against alcohol in the US. And it was also, by the way, the first women's-led movement against violence. So these are our foremothers here. The temperance movement had a huge impact on America, but it's best known for its failed tactic, prohibition, right? They got the best policy change you could get. They got the behavior change that they wanted to see in the Constitution, and it didn't work, right? They overreached. The policy went beyond what people actually believed, and we swung back. They got their dream policy change, but not the culture change to support it, so it wasn't sustainable. I think this is really, really important, and here's why. If you think that policy change is the end, then you may be willing to demonize and alienate 49.9% of the people. But if you think the end is sustainable culture change, you can't do that. You have to use different tactics. You need as many people as possible. You don't need everybody, and you can't get everybody, but you need enough for the change to hold. Culture wars are about winning. Culture change is about winning over. I've been researching a bunch of examples of successful change in the US to see what they did right. It's been really fun and really inspiring. We have so many examples around us all the time. But tonight, I only have time to share one lesson from one example: drunk driving. Huge success story. Drunk driving deaths in the US have dropped by more than 50% since 1982. Anybody know what happened in 1982? It's mad, right? A mom and then a group of moms decided they were going to take it on. And it was a really hard one to take on. It seems easy now because it happened, but imagine being back in 1982 and thinking how you were going to change this. I mean, this required changing our decision making at the moments when we were least able to make good decisions. This was a really hard one. And the mad moms and other advocates, used lots of tactics. They were partnering with police. They were scaring high school kids with crashed cars. But I want to focus on one thing they did spectacularly right, which is friends don't let friends drive drunk. This message, this framing, took what was a fringe criminal justice issue and made it the expression of friendship. It was brilliant. Everybody wants to be a good friend. Everybody wants good friends, right? So drunk driving matters to everybody. And it worked. It's changed how millions and millions of us act toward each other and saving 10,000 lives a year. Successful change agents include people. They bring people in and make them care. They win people over. So think for a minute about the change you most want to see in the world. Right? How do you win over enough people for sustainable culture change? It is probably not telling people they are awful. Right? It's probably not saying the thing you've been saying louder. And it's probably not tweeting to your existing followers. Right? It likely requires lots and lots of different tactics with different appeals from different angles to a whole lot of people who are different than you. Most of the work that I do is in the US, but a couple weeks ago I was in Cambodia with another foundation, meeting with organizations working with families. And even as we can marvel at the changes in opportunity for women in the past 40 years, we know that's not true for all women. Both inside and outside of the US, women still have extreme differences in opportunity. And in some ways, increasing social and economic opportunity for women in Cambodia looks pretty different, but in a lot of ways it's the same, right? Like any social change, it requires believing something different is possible. So as we face our big challenges in the US and around the world, we are building on decades and decades of successes. And those successes can show us how change happens, how people inspire lots and lots of other people to believe and act as if something different is possible. Thank you.